Hi everybody, welcome to Walker's Guide and welcome to day 7 of 30 Days of Wild. And today we're out for a lovely walk in the Essex countryside, as we often are, and just seeing what we see. And I'm stood next to a lovely field planted up with what looks like something like oats or rye, and listening to the skylarks flying overhead. But I don't know if you're going to be able to hear those skylarks, so I'm not going to over-mention them. But more importantly is what we're walking next to. A beautiful hedgerow. Hedgerows are one of the most important, and I cannot emphasise that enough, most important field items for nature. Obviously for us eating, that field, there's our grub. There's the countryside and wildlife grub. But what is it and what's it for? Why do we have hedgerows? And what good are they? Why not rip them out? Well, actually, there's a lot of answers there. And, let's talk about them. First of all, is the protection. There's a gap in this hedgerow here, and I'm getting buffeted by the wind. If I walk back here to where there's a short section of hedgerow, as in not very tall, I'm protected. That field behind us there is protected 7 times the height of that hedge. If you go out 7 times, that's how far the protection from the wind is. And you can see it. You can see the rippling of the crop goes right over there. And then when we look up here, where that hedgerow is, nothing. What else does it do? And well, why is that important, right? Okay, so what? So what that the wind doesn't hit the field so much? Well, what that means for one is any fertilisers or chemicals that are sprayed onto this field will not blow so far away. They'll be more efficient. Great. So we can now grow our crop with less chemicals. That protects the investment for the farmer because he's not spending so much money on chemicals, and chemicals are expensive. Okay, cool. Number 2, that hedgerow also supports insects. And believe it or not, well, not so much with this crop because this is going to be mainly wind pollinated, but believe it or not, insects are really important for pollination because they kind of pollinate, okay, we all know that. But they also predate on potential nasty insects that will cause crop issues. Things like aphids and the insects that get bore inside, like not shield bugs, suckers, leaf suckers and such, will be predated on by insects and birds that live in the hedgerow and nest in the hedgerow. And young birds eat a lot to grow. They have to go from little things to big things quickly. So they eat a lot of problematic insects. Not all insects that get into a field are problematic, but some are. So they're the positives, or 2 of the positives. There's a lot more. The separation of fields. I mean, here, if we have a look, this is not just a hedgerow, but there's also a ditch. Now, this gap in the ditch is used by deer to cross from one field to the other. Something else that hedgerows can do is keep deer and the animals out of fields so they don't need so much to crop. But what animals our hedgerows going to be helping? Well, obviously the birds who feed and live in and on, and we got some beautiful bird song today coming from the hedges over on that side of the field from where I'm walking next to. But also bats. Bats will use it like the M25. They'll fly along the top, and it will be like a motorway. They fly along and they use it to identify where they're going. And bats can travel vast distances when they want to, and that hedgerow just gives them confidence of where they're going. There is some studies have been done on hedgerows, and by counting the number of species, you can tell to an approximation how old they are. But some of the hedgerow species are very specific to hedgerows, or mainly found in hedgerows. Here's a great example. This is Cretaceous monogyna, hawthorn. They got spiky leaves, spiky spikes, hawthorn. Name gives it a clue, right? The thorn, very sharp, and live in hedgerows because they don't grow massively tall, and they don't mind being cut down because hedgerows are not natural. Hedgerows are man-made fencing, effectively. They're hedges. Well, that's where the name comes from, right? It's a row of hedgerow. Field maples, like this one here. This is a very big one, but often found in hedgerows. Happily enough, they will be kept short by cutting them back. And interestingly, is oaks. But oaks would not usually, very rarely, would they be cut down when the hedge was cut down. So hedges would be cut down shorter so that you could see over them and so you can maintain the shape, because you want to stay quite condensed. You don't want to spread right out, otherwise, well, they kind of lose their hedgerowiness and become a forest. But the oaks would be left to grow tall, and now we have the trees and the species within it. So let's have a look. We're at the end here. The first tree we're coming across is a hazel. So hazels are quite commonly found in hedges because you can cut them down and they will regrow really happy. The other thing about the beautiful hazel is it would be used for hedge laying. So you would take the staves and you would put them in a line, and then you'd use that when you push the hedge over. So you lay it down into, you cut it and lay it down to make the hedge thicker. What we got next, well, this is Cornus sanguina, which is dogwood. Big flowers, black berries, and grows quite dense. Not technically a tree, if you go by some people's statements, and like the Forestry Commission, because it doesn't grow quite tall enough. It usually goes up to about 4 metres, and to be a tree, according to the Forestry Commission, it needs to be 5 metres when it's fully grown. Next up, we've got our hawthorn, we've mentioned earlier, with the haws, the berries. So this berry will have a single seed, which is where it gets its name, monogyna. That's what it means, single seed. Next that, a field maple, then another hawthorn, some more hazel, some more dogwood, some more hazel, some bramble, prickly so-and-so, this bramble. Look at those spikes. Fruit on here is the blackberry, and beautiful it is. If you ever think about picking them, just think of the height of a dog, so don't pick them too low, go up higher. Then what we got next, that a beautiful dog rose, a wild rose. Now, these roses have really lovely open flowers so that pollinating species can get inside really, really easy. And in this case, there's a little hoverfly in there having a bit of nectar, because not. Now, I would have expected about here an oak. And here we go, here's another species. This is the well-named blackthorn, Prunus spinosa. So, being a prunus means it's part of the plum family. Plum, cherry, they're all interrelated, and this is one of them. Prunus spinosa spinosa because of the spikes. And they are vicious little so-and-sos. I have lost bike tyres to these things many a time. Look at that spike there. They're hidden within the leaves. So the little leaf stem branches are spiky on the end. They actually have a horrible habit of getting bacteria on them. So if you get one in your foot, keep an eye on it because it can get rather bad. There's another beautiful dog rose. Malus of some description. Now, malus is apple. I'm not saying crab apple, okay? The reason I'm not saying that is because quite often the apples we find on and around hedgerows aren't crab apples. They're non-domesticated apples, or they're escaped apples. So you eat an apple, what do you do with the core? Lob it in the ditch. What happens? Animal eats that core, defecates the seeds out because they don't break down going through the digestive system. Out comes a new apple tree, and it could be anything, who knows what. So that leaves me for one thing left to say. Thank you for joining me on this stroll along a hedgerow, and I will see you again tomorrow for day 8 of 30 days of wild. Get out, have a walk. I'll see you soon. Bye.